Hey, welcome back. It's Jason Walter here. In today's video, I'm going to take a deep dive into a new report regarding pending home sales of existing houses, excluding brand new home construction. I'm doing this because this is very much a leading indication of future home prices and also closed home sales in the coming months. I have a lot to share in today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. And also, please sure to subscribe to this channel right now because I post frequent housing market updates. All right, with that said, let's begin today's video. This was announced today, which is on March 28th from the National Association of Realtors. They reported that pending home sales in February increased by 1.6% compared to January. Midwest and the South posted monthly gains in transactions, while the Northeast and the West recorded losses. All four U.S. major regions posted decreases on a year-over-year basis. According to Lawrence Yun, who is NAR's chief economist, he stated the following: the high-cost regions in the Northeast and the West experienced pullbacks due to affordability challenges. I think everyone knows that the West and the Northeast in general have more expensive real estate than the South and the Midwest. That is what he's saying here. One of the reasons why the more affordable areas are actually going up, whereas the more expensive areas are going down, at least in the form of less contracts being signed, which makes sense since we have this giant housing affordability issue on a national level due to prices and rates skyrocketing over the past several years. He also goes on to say the following: home prices rising faster than income growth is not healthy and adds challenges for first-time home buyers. That is 100% true because we're seeing wage growth not increase at the same rate of home prices, especially ever since really 2020. So housing affordability, still a major challenge nationwide. So they have what's called their pending home sale index, or their PHSI. That is seasonally adjusted based on contracts being signed between buyers and sellers of existing houses. As it says here, this is a forward-looking indicator of closed home sales based on contracts being signed. That increased to 75.6 in February. And also from a year ago, pending transactions are down by 7%. Lawrence Yun also stated the following: while modest sales growth might not stir excitement, it shows a slow and steady progress from the lows of late last year. I'll have some stats to share regarding that because the decreases we saw on a year-over-year basis 1 year ago, back in February 2023, were over 20% decline. Now it's down not nearly as bad. So the decreases on a year-over-year basis were much worse back in the first half of 2023 compared to now. Okay, before I share that though, I want to share this with you guys because this is a report for February, of course, which is a measure of contracts being signed, and rates actually increase. So in January, the average rate, this is according to our good Uncle Fred, and the source here is Freddie Mac. Back in January, we're at 6.64% for people with exceptional credit, putting at least 20% down. And that increased to 6.78% in February. So rates increased slightly, and we saw a very small increase in pending home sales this February as well. Here's also an infographic looking at the changes on a month-to-month basis for each of these four major regions. Again, the Midwest increased the most, up by 10.6%. The South saw a gain of 1.1%, but the West fell the most, down by 6.5%. The Northeast fell by 0.3%. Also, have a look at this. This is also from the National Association of Realtors. So for August last year, the index was at 72.8. I just want to provide this because this provides some clarification regarding the number right now at 75.6. It's still at very low levels, which implies that closed home sales in the coming months will also remain low as well. In any case, back in August last year, at 72.8, that was the lowest reading on record. And they started tracking this data back in 2001, by the way. Also, for comparison's sake, the all-time record high was not back in 2005. It actually was back in August of 2020, when back then the index was at 128. Now it's only at 72.8. Therefore, the index this February at 75.6 is not too far off the all-time record lows that was set last August. On top of that, at 75.6, we're now down by about 43% from the peak back in August of 2020. I also kind of did some fact checking around this because I want to see what other sources are reporting regarding pending home sales, how this relates to the data I'm seeing from NAR, for example. So again, from August 2020, all-time record highs, compared to what we're seeing this February, we're down by about 43% according to data or my own analysis of NAR's data. This is roughly in line with what Realtor.com is reporting as well. So during that same time frame, August 20 through February this year, down 41%. And that is this right here. Realtor.com for the month of February noted there was 367,000 pending home sales. Compare that to August of 2020, which is this aqua line right here. August 2020, around 625,000. And that's a decrease of 41% compared to the decrease of 43% according to the National Association of Realtors. Additionally, also something you guys should be aware of as well is that on a year-over-year basis, every single one of the 4 major US regions regarding their pending home sale index decrease. So for example, the Northeast fell by 9%, the Midwest down by 2.5%, the South down by 8.5%, and the West decreased by 7.9%. Okay, let's get a little bit nerdy here because I actually pulled data from the National Association of Realtors a couple of years ago, and I just update this Excel file each and every month based on the reports every month. So again, for February, we're at 75.6. That's down 7% year over year, but a small increase of 1.6% compared to the previous month. Again, a friendly reminder here, this index is seasonally adjusted and also it's annualized as well. So for example, based on my analysis of their data here, the decrease of 7% this February compared to February of 2023 is much better than the 22.9% decrease we saw from February 2022 through February of 2023. However, though, even though it's not as down as much as it did last year, we're still down year over year, down by 7%. On top of that, it's much worse than the historical averages going back to the year of 2010. So for example, by my dumb math, the average February to February change going back to 2010 is an increase of 0.4%, whereas this year it decreased by 7%. Let's also take a look at the month-to-month changes as well. This is a change in contracts being signed from January through February that actually increased by 1.6%, better than the 4.7% decrease we saw in the previous month. This is actually better, the 1.6% gain is better than the 1.5% decrease we saw back in February of 2023. And it's also higher than the long-term average as well. So the long-term average from January through February, each and every year, going back to 2010, is an increase of 0.2%, whereas this month we saw a gain of 1.6%. Something else you guys should be aware of as well is that at February's reading at 75.6, this is only 4% higher than the all-time record lows set back in August last year. In other words, the level of purchase contracts being signed between buyers and sellers of existing houses are still at very low levels. This implies that closed home sales will remain very low in the coming months. I also want to provide some context regarding how does this compare to pre-COVID levels as well. The current reads right now, this February, how's that compared to February 2019 and February 2018? So for example, this February compared to February 19, we're down 20% and also down by 30% from 2018. So in other words, the level of contracts being signed is still at very low levels, especially since we're not too far off the all-time record lows that was set back in August. And also we're down by more than 20% from pre-COVID levels as well. What I also found to be really intriguing as well is that we basically had this tale of two entirely different housing markets. That is the resale market of the existing houses and also the housing market for new home construction, brand new houses. So for example, pendings of existing houses are counted more or less the same way for new home construction. The U.S. Census Bureau defines a new home sale as a sales agreement being signed or a purchase contract being signed between a buyer and a home builder, or when a deposit is taken from the home builder. So a new home sale is more or less acting like a pending home sale. So for example, this February, pending sales of existing houses, as I explained for you guys just a little bit ago, decreased by 7% from February 2023 through February 2024. Compare that to new home construction sales that actually increased by 5.9%. So the resale market of existing houses, pendings decreased 7%, whereas sales of new houses actually increased by 5.9%. However, though, pending sales increased by 1.6% from January through February for existing homes. Yet new home construction sales decreased by 0.3% during that same time frame. So therefore, this is a sign that home builders are not able to sell their houses because the decrease on a month-to-month basis went down, for lack of a better word. So in my personal opinion, we'll need more data regarding this. So of course, I'll definitely keep you posted with latest developments. Okay, let's change gears slightly here and talk about home tours by real estate agents across the United States. This is from the National Association of Realtors again, in collaboration with Central Lock, which is a lockbox company that, according to them, is used in roughly a third of home showings across the nation. It says foot traffic. This is when realtors or real estate agents show houses for sale to the home buyers and accessing their lockboxes is a strong correlation with future contracts and home sales. So it can be viewed as a peek ahead at sales trends in 2 to 3 months from now. So more or less is a look at how many real estate showings are we seeing right now. How's it compared to last year? And the answer to that is this right here. Central Lock home showings were down 5% on a year-over-year basis. Every market's different though, right? Real estate is local, I always say that. So 3 of the 4 regions saw a decrease in real estate showings year-over-year this January compared to January 2023, the most recent data we have from them. So for example, in the Northeast, it fell by 22%. The Midwest decreased by 12%. The West fell by 6%, whereas the South barely squeaked out a gain, increasing by 1% year over year. Something to keep in mind as well is that back in January, we had approximately 10% more homes for sale nationwide compared to January 2023. So despite the fact we have approximately 10% more homes for sale, real estate showings decreased by 5% on a year-over-year basis. And last but not least, let's have a look at mortgage rates as of Thursday, March 28th. This is from the Mortgage News Daily. They look at people with great credit, a FICO score at around 780, putting down at least 25% to buy a house. If that's you, these will be your more or less your average rates you're looking at as of today. Rates change daily though. Something I found to be really interesting is that rates really haven't changed all week. From Monday through Thursday, virtually unchanged all week. I haven't seen that in quite some time. So the average 30-year fix was at 6.91% flat compared to yesterday. Jumbo is at 7.29%, and FHA and VA loans are flat as well at around 6.4%. Check this out because going back to March 22nd, the fluctuations in rates, there was only one day that rates were not 6.91%. I've never seen that before, to see the same daily rate, the same for 3 consecutive days. In any case, the daily rate 1 year ago was at 6.60%. So rates have increased by about 31 basis points compared to 1 year ago. Also, according to Investopedia.com, as of today, the average rate is at 7.16%, quite a bit higher compared to the 6.91% from the Mortgage News Daily. And that's because Investopedia.com looks at a wider range of FICO scores in the range of 700 to 760. But that's today's video. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Like and subscribe. And of course, if you guys want a real estate agent referral, check out my website, which is realestateteamfinder.com. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.